Alright, so I'm here with another Microeconomics practice FRQ. We're doing another one from Unit 4, a 2008 question. So this question says, Callahan's orchard grows apples and operates in a constant cost, perfectly competitive apple industry. So we already know that we're going to be looking at some perfectly competitive stuffs, and it's in long run equilibrium. So question A says, draw a side-by-side graph for both the market and Callahan. So we have both the market supply and demand curve, and we will have the uh, firm or the individual supply and demand curve. Well, the market is relatively straightforward. You have your downward sloping demand curve and your upward sloping supply curve, and then you have, I'll do it in a different color here, and so where they meet at equilibrium, this is probably should label our axes here Q, P, and so for the market, this is the market, so market this is our market graph, and then here would be our P. So they want us to label this QM for our market quantity and our PM for our price for the market. And so the individual or the firm or Callahan, it says Callahan's output, so that's what I'm going to put just so whoever's grading it does not get confused. So for the market for apples will look like this. This is the demand and supply curves for all of the apple buyers and apple sellers and all of the markets, or in all of the stores and everything. So this is what this looks like, and it's your basic supply and demand curve. I don't want to say normal supply and demand curve, but this is just like a stereotypical, very basic supply and demand curve. And that should give you probably 1 point. But if we go over here, I should probably make these like level with each other. So there we go. So now we have the firm or the individual or whatever market, and because this is perfectly competitive, they will take whatever the market price is. So the price, whatever that is going to be this horizontal line right here. So let me just kind of extend this line, basically. So this is going to be our price, and what did they say, label it PF. So now we could just draw a singular line, and this is our demand curve for the market, which is also our marginal revenue, and also our average revenue, because in a perfectly competitive market, the demand is equal to the marginal revenue, which is equal to the average revenue in a perfectly competitive market. Now, to find the price, or not the price, we found the price, the quantity. So to find the quantity, we just draw a marginal cost curve, and it doesn't have to necessarily look like that. But just upward sloping. And so what you want to do is find where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. So it's going to be at this point here. And so this straight down is going to be our quantity. FRQ. So QF. And we're not done on this Callahan graph though, because we still have to show our average total cost. So the average total cost curve is a concave up, but its minimum is where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. So at this point, it's at a minimum. So ATC, average total cost. So this is part A. So I think that should be everything. I don't think you need to put anything else in there. Now assume government provides a lump sum subsidy. Alright. So, in the short run. So, this part is very important, this short run, because they say in long run and part C. So we're going to explain this in the short run. So, it says explain, but I'm going to explain it verbally. I don't want to write it down. Okay, so Callahan's quantity of output. So the lump sum subsidy is going to just give the market, or it's going to give extra money, so they're going to have more profit. It's like basically reducing the fixed costs is what the lump sum subsidy does. And because it's not a per unit tax or per unit subsidy, it's not changing the marginal rate. And so the point of finding this quantity that Callahan sells, because this is Callahan's quantity of output, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, this point right here is where the quantity is. And so the quantity of output will not change because it changes. The quantity of output is based upon where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, and only per unit subsidies affect the marginal cost curve. So there is no effect. No effect. No. Let's see. Indicate the effect. Okay, no effect, I guess. No effect. No effect. And this is, again, because the lump sum does not change the marginal cost curve, and the marginal cost and where the marginal cost and marginal revenue curves will place this quantity. And so because there is no change in the marginal cost curve, there is no effect in the quantity of output. Let's see here. The profit is going to, well, you don't have to explain this, but I am still going to so you guys can understand it. So the profit, pi, is price times average total cost minus quantity. Or no, price minus, it is price minus average total cost times quantity. Yeah, I had to think through that, but it's price minus average total cost times quantity. And so because the average total cost curve will decrease, or there's going to be a change in the average total cost because the total cost is changing, right? It's because you're going to have total cost is going to be reduced. Like I said before, it changes your effective cost, but it doesn't affect your marginal cost because you're going to have an extra money, right? So you just have some money, it's like dollars, right? And so this is what would be your total cost be, but you're adding some extra subsidy, so I'll just call that S. right? And so whenever you divide this by quantity, you're still getting some extra stuff. And so when you subtract average total cost, you are subtracting, you would be subtracting less because you're not adding a subsidy to the total cost, you're reducing it. Because when you subtract, or when you add this subsidy, the cost is effectively less because you're giving money back to the people. And so you're effectively losing less money for the costs. So the profit should increase. Profit will increase. 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 Okay. The number of firms in the industry. This one also doesn't say explain, but this one is this is where probably a handful of people would get tripped up. And I almost said this, but I looked back at the question and it said short run. In the short run, you cannot change the number of firms in an industry because the long run is defined as how long is the length of time to change firms, to or create a new factory or to enter a market. And the short run you can shut down, but you can't necessarily enter or exit the market. So there's actually no change. Oops, this is no change. No change. Because again, in the short run, you cannot change the fact if you're totally in a market or not. You're either in it or not in it. And in the short run, you cannot change that fact. But in the long run, which is the next question, in the long run, you can. In the long run is defined as being able to enter or exit a market. You can do that in the long run. So because they see that there is more profit, that this Apple industry is more profitable, people will want to enter the market. So there is going to be more firms. So increase. Can I draw an E? Increase. And again, I'm not going to write this down even though it says explain. But the idea is that they will see that there is more profit, and so firms will want to go and enter the market. And so this idea of profit will make more people want to join this market, and that's the simple thing. Now, the price. So if you think back to when you were doing shifts of demand, determinants of demand, this increase in the number of people will increase this demand curve. Right, this will shift the demand curve right. I will draw this. Let's do green. So the different determinants of demand and supply, right? So the increase in the number of people selling the good. There is more people selling the good. So this supply curve. Let's draw a supply curve. There we go. Supply curve. So let's do S prime. It does not ask to draw this, but this is just kind of me showing. And so the price is going to drop here for the entire market because there's tons of more people selling the good. And so the whole market price will decrease because there's more people selling it, so people want to sell it cheaper because more people are buying it. And so this price would be now here, P2, and as you can see, the price decreased. And so no, it does not ask to explain this, but this is the concept. Alright, industry output. This one is fairly self-explanatory. There's more people, there's going to be more stuff that they're selling. That's it. There's more people in this market. The supply curve has shifted right because there's more people selling the good. And so that and so there's more things being sold and there is more output. Just as simple as that. And so I'm gonna quickly go back over some of the weird questions. So this, I think market or question A or part A is relatively simple. Just draw your graphs. The quantity of output, I think that one would probably be a bit confusing if you didn't know the concept of a lump sum subsidy, or there's like, oh, subsidy, it'll increase. No, it's because it's a lump sum, it does not affect the marginal cost curve. And so that is probably where a couple people got tripped up. They would probably see that most people would probably understand this profit. And so I think where people would get tripped up is uh, here and maybe here. Just remembering the kind of thinking about the determinants of supply for CII, and just jumping to the concept of, oh hey, there's more people in the market, there's there's a profit, people are going to enter the market, that thing, not even or just kind of jumped from here to here, just not thinking about it. And so that's what's gonna kind of increase you from like a 3 to a 4 or 5, just kind of reviewing these harder questions. But that was 2008 FRQ, I think.